Teacup, Tempest by Wigworm. Maki-chan, Kakashi called out over the running water of the woman's shower. I'm going to be home late tonight. Hito giggled as he ran past the jonin wearing only a bright blue t-shirt. Kakashi rolled his eyes at the toddler and turned back to the bathroom door waiting for Maki to answer him. I was kinda expecting you to pick Hito-chan up this afternoon, Kakashi, she called back. What are you doing that's holding you late? Picking up a set of training underpants and black ninja pants for Hito, Kakashi waited for Hito to run by again before grabbing the giggling boy and tossing him lightly on the couch a foot away. The 2-year-old landed softly and managed to tangle himself up as he tried to scramble to his feet. I have to talk to one of my students, Sakura-chan. Kakashi tickled the boy a bit before starting the arduous task of getting him dressed. I have to start going over Kunoichi specialties with her. Oh! Maki exited the bathroom dressed and rubbing a towel to her short hair. And the other two? Just regular stuff, Kakashi murmured, smiling down at Hito and bending to blow a raspberry against his tummy before tugging the pants on him. Sparring, some taijutsu, endurance training for the most part. Kakashi was glad that Hito was a fast learner. That meant that even though Hito had turned 2 only a few months ago, he was already toilet trained. For the most part. He only needed a diaper during the night. Sounds fun, Maki smirked at him, obviously aware of how much fun that kind of discussion would be for Kakashi. I was invited out for supper with Anko and Kurenai tonight, so I guess that I could take Hito-chan with me. Kurenai would be happy to see him again. Well, Kakashi mused, letting the boy up. Hito hugged him around the neck before running to his mother. If you don't mind Hito being around Sakura-chan, I can still take him. We aren't going to be doing anything other than talking. Maki frowned, settling Hito on her hip. But you already said that Hito looks just like your student, the Uzumaki. She trailed off. I know how most of the village treats him. I don't want Hito-chan enduring something similar because Sakura thinks it's okay to treat Uzumaki badly. Kakashi went over to the young woman and nodded in understanding, placing a hand on Hito's messy hair. I'll put him in a mask, like when Kurenai had her team watching with her. Leaning into his warmth, Maki sighed. I'm pretty sure the teammate thinks that Hito-chan is our kid, not just mine, because of that mask. Heart beating unnaturally fast, Kakashi didn't show his apprehension. Do you mind them thinking that? He asked cautiously. To tell the truth, Kakashi didn't mind being known as Hito's father, if it helped protect either or both Hito and Maki. To tell the truth, Kakashi wanted to be known as Hito's father. But it was up to Maki. So he waited for her answer. He hadn't wasted his hope. No. Maki's eyes softened and she smiled at him in the most intimate way. No, Kakashi, I don't mind at all. I just want Hito-chan to be loved, and you do that. Thank you. Kakashi took Maki and Hito into his arms and hugged them, whispering his words into Maki's ear. She had no idea how much he cherished being allowed into their lives. As blood-stained and dangerous as he was, they treated him as though he were merely a man, and not an occasional monster. A knock on their door and Azuma's bellow from the hall pulled them apart, and they raced around the apartment for a moment, making sure that they had everything that they needed for their day. Before Maki could flicker off with Hito to the daycare, Kakashi grasped her hand tight and in an absent movement kissed her forehead when he asked her to stay safe for the day, while they stood together in Kakashi's open front door. She stared at him with wide eyes for a moment before smiling broadly and nodding. I will. Believe it. She blushed and ducked her face away for a moment before looking him straight in the eye and kissing his cheek with a broad grin on her face. You too, Kakashi. And then she was gone. Azuma strung an arm around his shoulders. Did I just witness a landmark in the relationship of Kakashi and Maki? He asked out of the corner of his mouth. Kakashi pursed his lips and then nodded. If there were any people that he could trust, Azuma was one of them. I think so. Congrats, man. Azuma nudged his shoulder and then detached himself from Kakashi. They parted with a wave, and Kakashi wondered how he was supposed to train his genin while he was so distracted. It turned out that it wasn't that hard, though when he'd asked for Sakura to stay behind and dismissed the boys, it was strange that neither of them argued with him. Sakura stared after Sasuke with little hearts in her eyes as he left. And Kakashi wanted to palm his face because, seriously, couldn't she be a little more mature? Alright, we have to go get someone before we start. Kakashi jumped down from the tree he was sitting in and started back into Konoha proper. Sakura hummed and hawed for a bit before she actually managed to shore up the confidence to question him. Who are we getting, Sensei? The most important person in the village, he told her, and her eyes got amazingly wide. Hokage-sama? She whispered in disbelief, and Kakashi had to remind himself that Genin rarely, if ever, understood who the most important people in the world were, who the kings were, as Asuma liked to put it. No, someone more important. Instead of explaining, Kakashi turned down the road to the daycare, and when he paused at the gate, Sakura frowned. What are we doing at the daycare, Sensei? You know what then? He asked, and she nodded arrogantly, as though she were superior to others for knowing something. I used to come and babysit on the weekends. She jutted her chin out just a little and smirked. I was the only one in class that had a weekend job, and I freely spent my time looking after the kids. She stressed freely like it was important, and kids like she wanted to replace it with brats. Kakashi was not impressed. Kakashi-san! Mito waved the two of them in. She gave Kakashi a sly smile that Sakura obviously missed. You've come to pick up your son, then! Sakura gaped in shock. Yep. Is he ready to leave for the day? Mito smiled and nodded. Genma-san was just helping us get him down from the rafters. Kakashi had to laugh at that. Ito liked high places. The higher, the better. Sounds like Ito-chan. Touchan! Hiro came barreling out of the playroom at full tilt, and Kakashi barely had the mind to catch the boy. Hito had called him Touchan instead of Tashi-chan, like he usually did. He couldn't shake that off, but he did manage to fake his way past signing Hito out of the daycare and gestured for Sakura to follow along behind him as he carried Hito back towards Training Ground 7. Kakashi-sensei? Sakura was still gaping. You're married? She blinked. I've never seen a ring! Kakashi inwardly sighed as he settled his mind from Hito's surprise. No matter that Sakura had 4 years of academy and 2.5 months of Genin training under her belt, she was still very much civilian in mind and deed. Shinobi don't wear rings when they're working, Sakura-chan. That's like asking to get your finger torn off. He commented lightly as he landed gently on the ground in front of the memorial rock just outside of the training ground. His hands flashed through a quick parenting jutsu that tied a chakra leash from a child to a stationary object. He used Hito and the stone itself. Thankfully, Kakashi had done a quick pat down of the boy because he found and took 2 permanent markers off the boy before letting him out of his arms. It wouldn't do for Hito to draw on the memorial stone. Fortunately, Kakashi was able to skip most of the introductory things he was supposed to talk to Sakura about because she was such an avid reader and never let a textbook go unopened. The bad part was that she already had the awkward questions ready to ask that she definitely wasn't ready to hear answers to. So, Sakura blushed deeply. These jutsu that some kunoichi use, Kakashi resolutely kept his eyes on Ito. They're used during sex? Her voice squeaked at the end, and Kakashi nodded. Some of them, yes. If you were to be chosen by Anbu Yu, you would get full training in those arts. The 13-year-old girl giggled and hid her cheeks under her hands. I bet they totally give me an edge over Ino Pig. And then she giggled again. Kakashi was not impressed. He was going to try and hold her bad behavior before it became a habit. Sakura, I have a hypothetical question for you. She perked right up. I'm really good with hypotheticals, Sensei. Say you were taken into Anbu-yu right out of graduation and trained in all the arts they have to offer, including ones that they don't let anyone outside of their division know about. She giggled again, her blush rising. Say that you learned all these arts. She nodded eagerly. And now imagine that you've been sent on a mission where you are to seduce and have sex with an abusive, cheating husband because the wife wants proof of infidelity. You need to acquire pictures of yourself having sex with your customer's husband because he beats the ever-living crap out of her and she wants out. Sakura's face was no longer red, but bone white. Sensei? Now say you managed to complete your mission. You got the man to sleep with a 13-year-old girl and give his wife the pictures. Kakashi continued, his voice hard and unyielding. And then, when you go for your physical to be cleared for duty, you find out that you, the 13-year-old girl, are pregnant. Sakura collapsed to her knees, staring up at him in something close to horror. Kakashi doesn't take his eyes off Hito, needing to watch the innocence of the boy as he spoke. What would you do with that baby? Sensei? Sakura's voice was tiny and she sounded faint. Listen to me, Sakura. Kakashi crouched down beside her and finally looked her in the eye. Being shinobi is not a game. You don't become a ninja to fight your friends over a boy. Kana wouldn't do that, Sensei. Sakura stuttered. Kana wouldn't send a 13-year-old to do that. Kakashi gave a grim smile. Yes, he said softly. It would. He gave her a moment to compose herself. So now I want something from you, Sakura. I want you to grow up. I want you to show me that you truly want to be shinobi, that you aren't just a civilian playing at excitement for marriage prospects. Sakura looked up at him with watery green eyes. But I'm the oldest one on the team, Kakashi-sensei. I am grown up. Sakura. He sat down, stretching his legs out in front of himself. I know a girl who started raising a child when she was a year older than you. She is shinobi. She raised her kid by herself while on a mission. She is grown up. You run around playing ninja, wearing makeup and perfume that will get your team killed on a real mission, and looking to Sasuke for an indication that he likes you. Ito crawled out of the tall grass and stretched himself out over Kakashi's legs. Kakashi stroked his hair gently. Sakura sat in silence, thinking about what he'd said. Hopefully it wouldn't go to her head. Hopefully she'd pull it together and step up, taking her ninja career seriously. Kakashi would prefer a kunoichi with Maki's maturity on this team, rather than one with Sakura's. Ito leaned back into his chest and played with a metal plate on the back of the shinobi's glove. Kakashi chuckled and moved his attention to his son, letting Sakura think about what he had told her.